Oh yeah, that's right, Kool-Aid man. Nothing gets me more excited than a cinematograph or a animation from an image and a video composited where the image has a transparent center. So let's do it. Get yourself a coffee cup with a plastic lid. I kind of like how the lid, we know the shape's supposed to be the paper cup, the shadows in the background, and the coffee's moving, so it gets your attention, it hooks you in, it makes you think, oh, that's kind of cool. And then you can hit the logo and some text and some more art and copy to sell your coffee to the masses. All right, so it doesn't work in Canva, so I did it like 5 other ways, right? I started doing this first in Photoshop, then Photoshop Online, then Affinity, and then you can also try Photopea. I didn't get great results with Photopea, but depending on your image, you might get better results. And then finally, the GIF I showed you was an export from Adobe Express. So, all right, get an image. That's how it all starts. So I Googled coffee cup with plastic lid product mockup, and I scrolled down. I think I might have filtered by tool size large. So if you go to the top and go tools, large, check, and then scroll down a little bit, you'll find the one I found. There it is, right? So it's kind of a medium. It's easier when like you have a white cup on a different color background. So this one's kind of like a gray gradient, and the white in the middle is kind of the same as the white on the side. So it's like medium difficulty, but I don't know, you never know what you're gonna get. So get your image, and then I dragged mine into Canva. And so Canva has two eraser tools. Magic Eraser, which doesn't work. It tries to fill it with generative fill. And then Pixel Eraser's new, and it does work. It's like using Photoshop from the 80s or 90s, whenever Photoshop first came out. That's a question for Deke. So Command plus, I'm hitting minus, Command minus. All right, and then I guess my image was not selected. So the trick is, I don't know, right? So these tools, these web editors are good, but not great. The trick is you want to make your brush super small and zoom way in, and then make your brush bigger, and you can paint slow along the edge. And if you had all day, you could make the coffee cup look pretty good. All right, hit done. And then, maybe see, I'm used to doing Command plus, and then edit, erase second one pixel, and then there, now it works correctly. All right, so you would use a small brush and zoom way in and take your time and just go along the edge and make your brush bigger once you get the hardest parts done. And it's kind of how much patience you have, and it's maybe if you go too far, you could hit restore and go back over the edge. So Canva could do it, but it would take you a heck of a long time. So Photoshop is pretty easy. All right, it's got automated tools. And so I'm going to drag in my image onto the Photoshop icon in the toolbar. And then Photoshop, all right, it has the quick select tool is like the oldest tool. So quick selection tool, click and hold on the fourth tool down. You get the quick select tool, right and left bracket to change your brush size, and then you paint in your selection, and you can do spacebar command and fourth finger, spacebar command if you want to kind of look. All right, and if you go too far, then you hold option, and if you look in the middle of that circle, it changes to a minus, or up here in the control bar, the options bar, it toggles between these two modes, which if you hover over, give you a tooltip, subtract from selection. So option, click, right, and you can kind of get back to what you want. But I'm going to go Command 0 to fill it in window, and then deselect or Command D and switch to the object select tool. And then Photoshop does some processing, right? And it finds, oh, that's a coffee cup, and it selects it, which is what you want, the marching answer around the selection. Then you click and hold on the fourth tool down, object select, go to quick select, hold option, and you can remove the cup. And the hardest parts I found, if I hold spacebar command and zoom in, were kind of these edges that, whoop, command Z, I forgot to hold option down. All right, so, whoop, option. Okay, might have gone a little too far, but all right, command 0. So once you have your marching ants around the cup, the marching ants are just like a 50-50 edge representation. They're not an exact visual representation. So you want to go down to the bottom of the layers panel, hover over this layer mask button, which you can get a video and watch if you want, and then add a layer mask, which basically saves your selection. And the black conceals, the white reveals. Before you can correct, you must select. So people have been doing selecting and masking in Photoshop forever. There's a button here in the properties panel for invert or keyboard shortcut command I does the job. And now we got a good layer mask, which, you know, if we want to hold, I think, shift and click on the layer mask, it disables the layer mask. And it's like we're back to beginning, or you could just drag your layer mask to the trash. But I want it, so I'm gonna keep it. And the next step, there's 2 other steps you can do. So 9 out of 10 applications, this is perfectly fine, but because we're talking selecting and masking different applications, let's compare them. So we have this, if we switch to the move tool at the top, oh right, Photoshop crashed on me, so I think my computer's getting a little old. I don't blame Photoshop. So, okay. So if you switch to the move tool, you can come over to your mask and hit select and mask, which if you hover over, you get the tooltip of refine mask, which is what that used to be called, that button. So we're going to refine the mask. And I got the view of black and white selected from my previous time. So you can pick which view works for you and then click on the background to deselect. Spacebar command, we're in a different mode. The tools change, the panel on the right changes. So, you know, if you're not familiar with Photoshop, it's kind of tricky of Photoshop to do this, but let's see if we can maybe use some smart radius and a little bit of feather or smooth to kind of get rid of some of those jagged edges. That looks pretty good. And if you're a perfectionist, you can go to the second tool down here and then kind of paint away some of the bad spots. This is more common with hair. But right, this brush is like a premium feature, even though it doesn't really do a whole lot for us. So the brush can reanalyze, and it has 2 modes, color aware and object aware. I'm not going to click on object aware because it crashed on me last time, but maybe your results work for you. Once you're done kind of using those automated tools, the sliders and the refine edge brush tool. Refine edge makes me think of Mark S. and Heliar and Mr. Milchik. I like that name. All right, so the last trick after using the automated tools is to paint with black and white. So you switch to the brush tool and make the brush tool active. The default white is foreground, and then the background's black. You can hit the D key to go to default, and then the X key to toggle between the two. But let's see, we're going to paint with white, so we can start from the out in. And so like over here, there's a little bit of a problem. Maybe I want to make my brush like 95% hardness, since it's kind of a hard edge. And you can click. So if I want to click to paint with white, like you can click and then shift click, and it kind of paints perfectly in between the two. So if I'm going to do Command Z, but what I want to do is I want to kind of come over maybe this edge area and click to paint with white, and then come down here and hold shift and click. And it's pretty subtle, but anyways, if you want to kind of try painting, and you can hit X to switch to go like in here and then click and then shift click. So, you know, it's kind of, sometimes it helps, but for our case, I'm not really going to mess with it anymore. So painting with white and black, refining edge are some ways to kind of perfect your mask. All right, so let's see what Photoshop, right, so then you do File, Export. File, Export, and then export as PNG or export as Command-Shift-Option-W. And let's see what Photoshop Online can do. I had pretty good results. So I went to the Adobe homepage. So here's the image I used, or the video I used, if you're interested in checking out the file number and getting this exact same image from Adobe stock. But I went to adobe.com/home. And I just opened up the Photoshop on top. You can see they're pushing it, right? So you got they're trying to push AI, Express, Photoshop, Lightroom, Acrobat, they're top sellers. So put money into this. Drag your image onto Photoshop for the web, Photoshop Online. And select is the fourth tool down. And you can go with the object select detection at the bottom, or again, quick selection. So I think the object select does a pretty good job to start our marching ants. Then we can go to quick select and then hold the option key down, and you see a little minus. You see the toggle goes from create new selection to select less, and you can click away the cup, the plastic lid. And you can use the same keyboard shortcuts. Nope, you gotta do Command plus. And then I'm going to option click on this other edge, option click on this edge. I'm going to leave this because if I click on it, it messes it up, but it does a pretty good job. Marching ants look really good. So I'm going to add a layer mask here, create mask. And then I'm just going to hit the B key, the brush tool. Black is in my foreground, which I want. I can right bracket and then just paint away the extra section I don't need. All right, so Command minus to get our brush, spacebar, Command 0 to fit it, zoom in a little, Command plus to zoom in a little more. All right, so we do get a refine edge. So from, I think it's either more actions or right click. So there's refine edge, or data refiners. So control click and you get, nope, you don't get it from control right clicking. So come up there to the ... layers panel, fly out more menu, contextual menu. And then refine edge, and you want to look on black and white, and it's pretty good, right? I don't know. You could use you could play with the buttons. There's no just a hair. It's hard to do one feather, right? You have basically Photoshop lets you do up and down. Oh, there it does. Okay, so up button for a little bit of a feather. You don't get you can do shift, but you don't get a brush. You don't get to brush in the refine edge brush tool. And we want to output to a layer mask selected. All right, done, done. And then you get the same trick with, you can option click on the layer mask, get your brush tool. And if you think you can't do I don't think you can do the shift. So right now I'm painting with black. So if I click, and then hold shift and click. Oh, nice, I do. All right, so I got too much feather. Brush hardness, let's increase that to like 90 something. And then I can come back and I'm gonna go even more, maybe 100 and then down arrow. And painting with black, if I see any, I don't even see any problems with it, right? It's pretty good. And so it also integrates nice with Express. So right when I save this, I could paint in here and then hit X and kind of paint back over it if I needed to. But if I do save, or if I don't want to download it, it auto saves, cloud check, right? Then I could come to Adobe Express, right? And it's right there ready to go for me. So it looks like I got to invert my selection. I got a little carried away, and I'm going to option click and then do Command I and invert that selection, and then it should be perfect, which I should get a little thumbnail refresh here in a second, but looks like it's auto-saving. So, all right, so we've got to wait for the little cloud to have a check mark. Sync to the cloud. Yes, please sync. File synced to the cloud, last synced a few seconds ago. Come on over, and no. Anyways, it works. So next, let's check out Photo P. All right, so I logged into Photo P through the Gmail account, and you might want to do that. Let's drag this on though. Right, so we do File, Save, as PSD, and then after you do that, you can do save to storage. But I'm just gonna keep going for demo's sake. You do get the third tool down, the quick selection tool. Object selection didn't really work well for me. Quick selection didn't work that great either. So you can try to kind of start adding a selection, but the marching ants go all the way over the edge. So I'm gonna do deselect, Command D. It does work, right? I mean, I guess it just depends on your image. So I'm gonna click, and it does a decent job of kind of selecting the black of the cup. Now then it goes over the edge. So, it's free, right? And oh, did I put this? I put this on top, so I need to X out of this other document. Photo stay. Okay, so bring it in. It doesn't let you. Okay, so get the marching ants, and then drop down and add your layer mask, and then Command I to invert it, or you can find invert through the image adjustments if you search for the invert command. So it does kind of work. There is a refine edge. I don't know how it works, and you can definitely do the paint with white and black on a layer mask. So you get your brush tool, you check your edge hardness, and then if you wanted to kind of come around and start brushing with black, so if I make my brush way bigger, I can kind of paint like I did with Canva. So free. If you don't want to pay for Canva, you could do basically the same thing you do in Canva in Photopea here, but I'm not gonna use it because it didn't give me the best results. But what did give me decent results was just using Adobe Express. So you do get the quick select tool. So from the home page, start from your content, drag in your content, edit original image, get rid of learn, and Command 0 to zoom in, and then erase. And right, we got quick select, and you can click, and my background right now is white, so it's not giving me the best results. But if you do if you do Command plus, we should be able to zoom in and get the edge kind of pretty close. And this is what I used. No, it worked good. It worked good enough. All right, so I'm gonna hit done, and then I'm gonna click on the page, X out of image, click on edit page, go to color, go to none, and there's my checkerboard. So now if I want to kind of come back and basically paint with black and white, you can't paint with black and white, but once you have your image selected, you can look for right on the right. I have some problems, so I could go to erase, change from quick select to circle brush, make sure my hardness, does the up arrow work? Yeah, nice. And then if I want to erase a little more, I can kind of come in slow. I could zoom way in, Command plus, and kind of get rid of some of these edges. So you don't get the refine edge tool, but you can still paint with black and white. And I think you get a restore. So if you want to go from the outside in, you can kind of come in and click on some of these spots that maybe aren't so smooth. Right. So I'm gonna hit done. I'm gonna do Command 0, and then then all I did was drag in my my footage, Command left bracket to send it, Command Z, deselect so I don't drag it in on the clip, Command left bracket to send it to the back, and I just moved it so the Adobe stock was not visible, Shift left bracket. Yeah, you can't quite get it without adjusting it. So I downloaded a GIF, a full size, and then threw it onto the browser, and it looked pretty good with Adobe Express. So depending on what you need, you can use any of that software, and I hope you are able to make some cool transparent center animated cinemagraph-like images. How could I forget you, Affinity? So you got to download it. It's free, and it is associated with your Canva account. So I got good results, a nice transparent center. I'm going to drag a JPEG onto the Affinity app in my toolbar. And I had to download something to get the object selection tool to work, but it gives you some instructions, pretty easy. And then drag a selection over what I want to select. I said object selection. And all right, so I think what's happening is it's calling this layer background layer. We're in pixel mode, so we're okay. All right, let me toggle over. And this layer is called background as well. I did have some trouble. So I'm gonna Command J, I'm gonna click on the background layer. Maybe now if I target the background layer with the selection brush, oh, it's thinking. There it is. It just took a little while, I guess. All right, so I got the marching ants around the cup. I'm gonna switch to the selection brush tool, and then I should get a right bracket, a brush, but I think there's a bug here because I just restarted and this didn't work. But all right, so I got a 66 pixel brush, and I am gonna click. All right, so Command Z, I don't want that, so I'm gonna Option click and kind of paint away. And then it's kind of hard because I don't have a brush, but it looks like it did Command Z, one too many. So maybe you have a bug, maybe you don't, but I'm able to get the marching ants around the cup and then drop down and add a layer mask. And then I'm gonna deselect because I'm done with the marching ants. And then I'm gonna Control click, right click, and do invert mask. And then I can Option click on the mask and see how I did. It did a pretty good job. A little bit of problems on the right, maybe bottom left, upper left. And I can refine the edge. So there's a refine ... So I'm going to Option click to get out of this view and click refine. Yeah, but yeah, this is what happened too. It didn't work. So I'm going to Command Z or X out of this mode, cancel. And then it did work when I Control clicked and did refine mask ... So now you notice the red ruby lith overlay is on the cup, and I don't want that. I want black and white. And then I want to move kind of off to the side, space bar. Whoop. I want to do refine selection, and I'm going to smooth a little and feather a little. And if I do Command plus, I should be able to zoom in. Spacebar, there's my hand. Spacebar, and then, right, so I can zoom in. So the automated, there's no brush tool or refine edge brush tool like there is in Photoshop, but at least we're kind of getting rid of some jaggy edges. Hit apply. Now we're back to painting with black and white. So check out your foreground colors, make sure they're what you want. Hit X to swap them, D to go back to default, and go to the brush tool. And again, oh, there we go, I get a brush. So, all right, so I want to paint with black from the inside to kind of get rid of some of these inside problems. And I think I get that shift, so I'm gonna hit X to switch, make sure I got my default colors, and then X, all right, so I got the colors I want. I could check out my brush hardness, something over, I can't see exactly where it is, but it looks like at 100% hardness, 80% hardness, right? Maybe I want to bring this up close to 100. And finally, I can click and then come down and hold Shift and Shift click, and it lays down a straight edge in between. So kind of cool how it can do that. X to swap back, and then I can click and then Shift click and kind of get rid of some of that stuff all at once. I said there was a problem over here, so I want to hit X to paint with white. I guess the brush, you don't really see the edges, you just see what you're going to paint. So anyways, you know, when you get used to one way, it gets tricky to do it a different way, but if you just start one way, it's fine. So Command 0, you can save it as an Affinity file, file save as, and then file export, and get a PNG on your desktop and drag it in to Canva Adobe Express, and then add the animation image below. All right, so hopefully you have fun with the transparency. I think it's an essential tool, and I look forward to seeing your work.